You know what's funny about humans? Wheezed the dying alien through what I assumed was some kind of respiratory system. You're all so damn nice when nobody's watching. I rolled my eyes as I continued applying pressure to the wound in his thorax. Yeah, we're regular saints. Now hold still, your... whatever this purple stuff is. It's getting all over my last clean uniform. The alien, who looked like someone had taken a praying mantis, stretched it out to human size, and decided to paint it in various shades of iridescent blue, made a clicking sound that my translator rendered as laughter. Most species, they perform kindness for status, for advantage. You humans, you do it even when there's nothing to gain. Trust me, I muttered, rummaging through my medkit with my free hand. I'm gaining a hell of a headache from this conversation, and you're getting delirious from blood loss. Purple blood loss, whatever. I was honestly just trying to keep him talking at this point. Field medicine training had taught me that keeping a casualty conscious and engaged was crucial, even if said casualty happened to be the local equivalent of an alien duke or prince or whatever fancy title he held. I'd found him in the wreckage of what was clearly a high-end transport vessel, the kind of ship that screamed, "I have more money than your entire species' GDP. Tell me, human, he coughed, spattering more purple onto my uniform. In your culture, what do you call someone who helps without seeking reward? We usually call them sucker, I replied, finally locating the universal coagulant spray in my kit. Though I prefer Private Jenkins, who's going to be filling out paperwork about this incident for the next 3 cycles. I started applying the spray around the edges of his wound. Also, you can call me Sarah. If we're going to keep having this philosophical discussion while I try to keep your insides from becoming outsides, we might as well be on a first-name basis. The alien's compound eyes seemed to shimmer. I was High Chancellor Zixtal of the Meridian Concordat, though I suspect that title means little now. Fancy. I'm Sarah Jenkins of the Human Expeditionary Force, professional bandage applier, and apparently today's Good Samaritan. I finished with the coagulant and started wrapping a pressure bandage around his thorax, though I suspect that title means even less. The clicking laughter came again, weaker this time. You jest even now. So very human. Your species is unique in the galaxy, you know. The only ones who developed humor as a survival trait. Pretty sure that's not true. I once saw a Zentali tell a joke. Granted, it was about quantum physics and took 3 hours to deliver the punchline, but still. You misunderstand, Zixtal said, his voice growing fainter. Other species developed humor after achieving sentience. Humans, you laugh in the face of death. You joke when scared. You make light of darkness. It is how you survived your harsh world. I secured the bandage and checked his vitals on my med scanner. Look, your chancellorship. I appreciate the xenoanthropology lesson, but maybe we should focus on keeping you alive rather than discussing human coping mechanisms. Too late for that, I fear. His massive head turned slightly, compound eyes fixing on me. The assassination was quite thorough. Your aid has merely prolonged the inevitable. Assassination? I sat back on my heels, suddenly very aware that I was probably in the middle of something way above my pay grade. You know what? Never mind. I don't want to know. Above my pay grade, outside my jurisdiction, and definitely not in my job description. And yet you stopped to help, knowing nothing about me or the circumstances. Force of habit. See someone in trouble, help them out. Basic human decency and all that. Zixtal's mandibles twitched in what I was learning to recognize as a smile. Basic human decency. Yes, that is exactly why they fear you. Who fears us? Look, sir, with all due respect, if you're about to drag me into some kind of galactic political intrigue, I'm going to be very annoyed. I just wanted to have a nice, quiet patrol, maybe shoot some pirates if they showed up, and then get back in time for movie night. We're watching The Princess Bride again. The consortium, he said, ignoring my complaint entirely. The hegemony. All the great powers. They fear you because you are unpredictable, kind when you should be cruel, merciful when you should be merciless, making jokes in the face of death. I checked the med scanner again. His vital signs were deteriorating rapidly despite my best efforts. That's nice. We're just a bunch of lovable goofballs. Now, can we please focus on... Take this. One of his 4-fingered hands pressed something into mine. It felt like a data crystal, but smaller and warm to the touch. It contains proof, evidence of their crimes, their conspiracies, their fears. Nope. No thank you. Hard pass. I am not getting involved in whatever this is. I'm just a grunt doing her job, trying to keep the peace in this sector, and occasionally patching up dying aliens who really should stop talking and save their strength. Too late, he wheezed, that clicking laugh even weaker now. By helping me, by showing that simple human kindness, you are already involved. The data crystal. It will find its way to the right people. Your people. And then what? But High Chancellor Zixtal of the Meridian Concordat didn't answer. His vital signs flatlined on my scanner, and his compound eyes dimmed to a dull sheen. Well, shit, I muttered, looking at the crystal in my hand. So much for a quiet patrol. 3 days later, I was sitting in an interrogation room aboard the HEF flagship, Humanity's Reach, trying to explain to a panel of very serious-looking officers why I had accidentally started what was apparently turning into a galactic revolution. Let me get this straight, said Admiral Chen, pinching the bridge of his nose. You found a dying alien aristocrat. High Chancellor, I corrected automatically, then immediately regretted it when 5 pairs of eyes glared at me. A dying High Chancellor, the Admiral continued, and instead of following protocol and calling it in immediately, you decided to play combat medic? With all due respect, sir, the protocol for finding a critically wounded sentient is to render immediate medical assistance. It's in the Manual of Military Law, Section 47, paragraph. I know what the manual says, Private Jenkins. I helped write it. He sighed. What I'm trying to understand is how your act of... what did you call it? Basic human decency, sir. Yes, that. How did that lead to 3 major power blocks declaring war on each other, 2 supposedly stable governments collapsing, and the biggest diplomatic crisis since humans entered the galactic stage? I shifted uncomfortably in my chair. Well, sir, according to the data crystal. The one you weren't supposed to accept from a dying alien you weren't supposed to be treating? Yes, sir, that one. According to it, the major powers have been artificially suppressing technological and social development in younger civilizations, maintaining their dominance through a complex system of manufactured conflicts and economic dependencies. Colonel Rodriguez, who had been quiet until now, leaned forward. And your interaction with the High Chancellor somehow exposed this? Not exactly, ma'am. According to the intelligence analysts who debriefed me, it was more about how I handled the situation. Apparently, word got out that a human soldier provided medical aid to a dying enemy leader, expecting nothing in return. This wasn't supposed to happen. Because, Admiral Chen prompted. Because, sir, they've been carefully cultivating an image of humanity as dangerous, unpredictable barbarians. Keep the other species afraid of us, prevent any alliances from forming. But when the story spread about how I tried to save the High Chancellor, it complicated their narrative. Complicated, the Admiral repeated flatly. Private Jenkins, the Meridian Concordat is in open rebellion against the Consortium. The hegemony's internal security forces are deserting en masse. We're getting reports of peaceful protests on 1,000 worlds. And do you know what they're chanting? I winced. Basic human decency? Basic human decency! He threw his hands up. They're holding up medical kits as symbols of rebellion. Street medics are being hailed as revolutionaries. And it's all because you couldn't just follow protocol and call it in. To be fair, sir, I ventured. I did try to tell him I didn't want to get involved in any galactic political intrigue. The colonel actually snorted at that, trying to hide her amusement. The Admiral just looked tired. Private Jenkins, he said finally, do you know why humans developed humor as a survival trait? Because our planet tried to kill us so often we had to laugh about it? No. It's because we learned early on that the best way to deal with absurd situations is to find the humor in them. And this, he gestured at the holographic displays showing news feeds from across the galaxy, all featuring variations of my face and the phrase basic human decency in dozens of languages. This is about as absurd as it gets. Yes, sir. Sorry, sir. Don't be. He surprised me with a slight smile. The diplomatic corps has been trying to figure out how to break the major powers' hold on galactic society for decades. We just didn't expect it to happen because one of our soldiers decided to play nurse to a dying alien. So, I'm not in trouble? The colonel laughed outright at that. Trouble? Private, you've just been promoted. Congratulations, you're now the face of the Human Diplomatic Corps' new Basic Human Decency Initiative. I stared at her. The what? We're capitalizing on the situation, Admiral Chen explained. If the galaxy wants to see humanity as champions of compassion and medical aid, we're going to give them exactly that. Medical ships, emergency response teams, humanitarian assistance, all branded with your face and that catchphrase. But I'm just a grunt. I was just doing my job. Exactly, the colonel said. That's what makes it perfect. You weren't trying to start a revolution. You weren't trying to make a political statement. You were just being human. And apparently, that's exactly what the galaxy needed to see. I slumped in my chair. Can I at least still watch The Princess Bride on movie nights? The Admiral actually chuckled. Excuse me, Lieutenant Jenkins. I have a feeling that film is about to become required viewing across human space. After all, what better example of basic human decency is there than as you wish? Great, I muttered. I try to help one dying alien, and now I'm responsible for exporting both human medical practices and human pop culture across the galaxy. Anything else I should know about? Well, Colonel Rodriguez said with a suspiciously straight face. There is the matter of the merchandising. The what? Someone leaked your quote about getting purple alien blood on your last clean uniform. There's now a clothing line of deliberately purple-stained military-style jackets becoming popular among young revolutionaries. They're calling it the Jenkins Collection. I put my head in my hands. You know what's funny about humans? I said, unconsciously echoing Zixtal's last conversation. We really are too nice for our own good. Maybe, the Admiral said, standing up. Or maybe we're exactly nice enough to change the galaxy. Dismissed, Lieutenant. Go get some rest. Tomorrow we start planning how to turn one soldier's act of basic human decency into a full-scale humanitarian revolution. As I left the interrogation room, I could have sworn I heard the colonel humming, "Anybody want a peanut?" under her breath. And despite everything, or maybe because of it, I found myself laughing. Because really, what else can you do when you accidentally start a galactic revolution with nothing but a med kit and a bad habit of helping people in need? It's just basic human decency, after all. The story spread, as stories do, growing with each retelling. Some versions claimed I single-handedly fought off an entire assassination squad while treating the High Chancellor. Others insisted I performed miraculous surgery with nothing but a pocket knife and chewing gum. My personal favorite was the one where I supposedly delivered an impassioned speech about the universal right to health care, while simultaneously performing emergency surgery and teaching a masterclass in human idioms. The truth, as usual, was much simpler. I was just a soldier who couldn't walk past someone in pain without trying to help. It's a human thing, apparently. Who knew? But maybe that's why it worked. Maybe that's why it resonated across species barriers and cultural divides. Because in the end, it wasn't about grand gestures or heroic acts. It was about one person helping another, expecting nothing in return. Basic human decency, spread across the stars like a virus. But the kind that makes you better rather than sick. And if that's what it takes to change the galaxy, well, I guess I can live with having purple stains on my uniform, even if it did start a fashion trend. Just don't expect me to wear any of those Jenkins Collection jackets. I got enough purple alien blood on my clothes the first time around, thank you very much. Besides, I hear the next big trend is going to be combat medic patches worn as fashion statements. Something about them being symbols of revolution and hope. Humans, right? We really are ridiculous sometimes, but maybe that's not such a bad thing to be. Lieutenant Jenkins, please explain to me why there's a 12-foot-tall crystalline being in my medical bay insisting that it needs to learn the sacred human art of Band-Aid application. I looked up from my datapad at Dr. Rodriguez, no relation to the colonel, though they shared the same exasperated expression when dealing with me. Would you believe me if I said it's not my fault this time? No. Fair enough. I sighed, setting down the pad. The Crystallites joined the revolution last week. Apparently, they've been religiously significant across several sectors for millennia because of their natural ability to heal other species through some kind of energy transfer. When they heard about basic human decency and our medical practices, they decided to make a pilgrimage to learn from us? The doctor's voice dripped with sarcasm. More like they decided that humans must be some kind of long-lost cosmic cousins because we share their dedication to healing. They're calling it the convergence of compassionate species. I tried not to wince. There's already a holiday planned. Dr. Rodriguez pinched the bridge of his nose, a gesture I was becoming increasingly familiar with from superior officers. A holiday. 7 of them, actually. each representing a different aspect of medical care. Today is apparently the blessed celebration of minor abrasion treatment. I checked my datapad. Tomorrow is the sacred observation of proper hygiene protocols. Jenkins. I know, but look at the bright side. We've just gained incredibly powerful allies who can literally heal with a touch. And all they want in exchange is to learn how to put on bandages and say, "Take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning." The doctor slumped into the chair across from my desk. Yes, I had a desk now, and an office, with a view of the stars and everything. Being the face of a galactic revolution came with some perks, even if most of them just gave me a headache. "Do you ever miss when your job was just shooting pirates?" he asked. "Every single day." I stood up, straightening my now infamous purple-stained uniform. Yes, I still had to wear it. Apparently it was important for morale. "Come on, let's go teach our new crystalline friends about the mystic human ritual of applying adhesive medical strips." "You're enjoying this, aren't you?" "Doc, if I don't find the humor in this situation, I'm pretty sure I'll go insane. Did you hear what the Zentali did last week?" "Do I want to know?" "They rewrote their entire medical ethics code to include mandatory joke-telling during patient consultations. They believe humor is an essential part of the healing process now, because, and I quote, 'the blessed Jenkins laughed in the face of death itself.' You didn't even tell that many jokes." "I know, but try explaining that to a species that's now convinced that puns have healing properties." I started walking toward the medical bay, the doctor falling into step beside me. "Yesterday I got a report about a Zentali doctor who spent 6 hours setting up an elaborate, 'why did the protein cross the cell membrane' joke during surgery. Was it at least a good joke? It was terrible. But the patient recovered in record time, so now they're doing clinical trials on the therapeutic benefits of bad medical humor." We reached the medical bay doors, behind which waited our crystalline visitor, and what would undoubtedly be another bizarre chapter in what my life had become. But before we entered, Dr. Rodriguez caught my arm. "Jenkins," he said seriously, "you do realize what's really happening here, right? You mean beyond the obvious chaos? The old power structures, the ones that kept species isolated and afraid of each other, they're not just breaking down. They're being replaced. With this." He gestured at the medical bay. "With species learning from each other, sharing knowledge, finding common ground in the desire to help others." I nodded slowly. Basic human decency as a foundation for galactic society. Who would have thought? Certainly not the people who spent centuries convincing everyone that humans were dangerous barbarians, he smiled. "Though I have to admit, your particular brand of sarcastic compassion does make us seem a bit unhinged. Hey, I maintain that gallows humor is a perfectly valid coping mechanism for dealing with the absurdity of becoming an accidental messiah of medical care. Speaking of which," he nodded toward the doors, "shall we go teach our crystalline friend the sacred art of first aid?" "Lead the way, Doc, but fair warning, they're probably going to want to know about the mythical healing properties of chicken soup next. The Regellians already submitted a formal request for Earth's sacred broth recipes." "You're kidding." "I wish. Apparently someone told them about Jewish grandmothers and their medicinal cooking traditions. Now there's a monastery on Rigel 7 dedicated to perfecting the art of interstellar matzo ball soup." The doctor stared at me for a long moment before bursting into laughter. "You know what? Maybe the Zentali are onto something with their joke therapy. This is probably the most fun I've had in my entire medical career." "That's the spirit!" I pushed open the doors. "Now, let's go teach a living crystal how to apply a band-aid with proper bedside manner. Just remember, they're very interested in the ritual significance of kissing it better." As we entered the medical bay to find our towering crystalline visitor, carefully arranging bandages by size while humming what sounded suspiciously like the sound of music, I couldn't help but smile. This wasn't how I expected my military career to go, but maybe that was the point. Sometimes the best way to change the galaxy isn't through grand battles or complex political maneuvering. Sometimes it's through simple acts of kindness, shared knowledge, and the occasional terrible medical pun. And if that means I have to spend my days teaching alien species the importance of chicken soup and bedside manner, well, there are worse ways to start a revolution. Besides, I hear the crystallites make excellent nightlights for the pediatric ward. Something about their natural glow having calming properties. Though I'm pretty sure they just like making shadow puppets for the kids. Basic human decency, it turns out, is pretty contagious. Even among beings made of living crystal. Who knew? The reports kept coming in from across the galaxy, each more surreal than the last. The arachnids of Tau Ceti had established a web of mobile emergency response units, Pun very much intended, much to the Zentali's delight. The gaseous beings of the Nebula Collective had developed a way to carry solid medical supplies within their bodies, becoming living ambulances. Even the notoriously isolationist quantum hive mind had joined in, offering their parallel processing capabilities to help coordinate disaster relief efforts. And at the center of it all was one very tired, increasingly sarcastic human lieutenant who just wanted to finish her paperwork and maybe, just maybe, finally watch The Princess Bride without someone asking about the medicinal applications of true love's kiss. But that's another story entirely. Or is it? No, absolutely not. I draw the line at interpretive dance. Admiral Chen looked like he was developing a permanent eye twitch. Lieutenant Jenkins, the Etherians are a gaseous species who communicate primarily through movement. Their interpretation of basic human decency through rhythmic motion is actually quite... Sir, they want me to teach their entire medical corps how to do the dance of the sterile field preparation. I don't even know what that is. According to their cultural attaché, it's a ritualistic representation of proper operating room protocols, set to the tune of Stayin' Alive by the Bee Gees. I stared at him. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was. Apparently someone told them about using that song to time chest compressions during CPR and, well... He gestured at the holographic display showing thousands of swirling multicolored gas clouds performing what looked suspiciously like synchronized swimming in space. They got creative. Sir, with all due respect, Jenkins, if you say this is above my pay grade one more time, I'm promoting you again. I closed my mouth so fast my teeth clicked. That's what I thought. The Admiral sighed, looking out his office window at the steadily growing fleet of medical ships gathered around humanity's reach. Each vessel was painted with the now universal symbol of the revolution, a purple-stained medical cross. Look, I know this isn't what you signed up for. Sir, I signed up to shoot pirates and maybe explore some cool alien ruins. Instead, I'm dealing with crystalline beings who want to learn the sacred art of taking temperatures and gaseous aliens turning basic medical procedures into performance art. Don't forget the quantum hive mind's attempt to calculate the exact mathematical formula for bedside manner. How could I forget? They've been running simulations for weeks. Yesterday they asked me to explain why adding chicken soup to their equations kept producing results that violated the laws of physics. The Admiral actually chuckled at that. And what did you tell them? That Jewish grandmothers have been violating the laws of physics with chicken soup for millennia. They're now requesting a cultural exchange program with Brooklyn. Of course they are. He shook his head, but I could see the smile he was trying to hide. Jenkins, do you know why I haven't relieved you of duty and shipped you off to some quiet corner of the galaxy where you can't accidentally start any more cultural revolutions? Because no corner of the galaxy is quiet anymore since everyone's too busy singing Stayin' Alive while practicing their bandaging techniques? Because you understand something that most of our diplomatic corps is still struggling to grasp. He turned to face me fully. You understand that this isn't just about medicine or helping people. It's about connection, about finding common ground in the most unexpected places. I thought about the crystallites who now served as living nightlights in children's hospitals across 3 sectors, about the arachnids who had turned their natural web-spinning abilities into a revolutionary new way of creating sterile environments, about the Etherians who had somehow turned basic medical procedures into an art form that was bringing species together in ways no one had thought possible. They're not just learning our medical techniques, I said slowly. They're adapting them, making them their own, adding their own cultural elements. Exactly. And in doing so, they're creating something entirely new. Something that's neither purely human nor purely alien, but a genuine synthesis of both. Sir, that's... I paused, considering. Actually kind of beautiful, in a completely ridiculous way. Welcome to diplomacy, Lieutenant. It's usually either beautiful or ridiculous, and sometimes both at once. He tapped his desk, bringing up a new set of holograms. Now about the Etherian's request. Sir, I still don't know how to choreograph a dance about proper hand-washing techniques. No, but you're going to learn. Because next week, representatives from 57 species are gathering for the first Galactic Medical Cultural Exchange Conference, and they're expecting a demonstration. I felt my soul try to leave my body. A demonstration. Indeed. The crystallites are providing the light show. The quantum hive mind is composing what they call mathematically perfect healing harmonies, and the arachnids are setting up some kind of interpretive web installation about the importance of regular checkups. And let me guess, I have to participate in all of it. Consider it part of your duties as the face of the Basic Human Decency Initiative. His eye twitch was back, but now it was definitely from suppressed laughter. Oh, and Jenkins? Yes, sir? The Zentali have requested that you judge their medical comedy competition. Apparently they've developed something called surgical slapstick. I dropped my head into my hands. Sir, permission to speak freely? Granted. Next time I find a dying alien aristocrat, I'm calling it in first. No, you won't. No, I won't. I agreed with a sigh. Because if you say basic human decency, I'm making you teach the hive mind how to tell knock-knock jokes. Actually, sir, I was going to say it's too late for that. The hive mind already has a working group dedicated to analyzing human humor. They've concluded that "why did the chicken cross the road" is actually a complex metaphor for the human understanding of mortality and free will. The Admiral stared at me for a long moment before reaching into his desk and pulling out a bottle of something that definitely wasn't regulation. Want a drink? God, yes. As we sat there, watching the Etherians perfect their interpretive dance about proper hygiene protocols, I couldn't help but laugh. Because really, what else can you do when you've accidentally turned the galaxy into the weirdest medical variety show in history? Sir, I said after a while. Yes, Jenkins? Do you think High Chancellor Zixtal knew this would happen? That his last act would turn into whatever this is? The Admiral considered this as we watched a group of crystallites attempt to teach a quantum hive mind representative how to do jazz hands. I think, Lieutenant, that he understood something fundamental about humanity that even we sometimes forget. What's that? That our greatest strength isn't our technology, our military might, or even our capacity for violence. It's our ability to take something as simple as helping others and turn it into a universal language, even if that language sometimes involves choreographed medical procedures set to disco music. I raised my glass to that. Raised. To basic human decency, then. May it continue to confuse and unite the galaxy in equal measure. To basic human decency, he agreed. Now, about those dance lessons. Sir, please. The Etherians have already composed something they're calling the Ballad of the Brave Bandage. Apparently it's a 3-hour epic about adhesive medical supplies. I finished my drink in one gulp. You know what the funny thing is? This isn't even the weirdest thing I've had to deal with this week. Oh? The Regellians have declared chicken soup a controlled substance. Something about its violation of physics being too powerful to leave unregulated. The Admiral poured us both another drink. Jenkins? Yes, sir? I think we're going to need a bigger bottle. Basic human decency, sir. It's one hell of a drug. And somewhere out there in the vast expanse of space, I could have sworn I heard the ghost of High Chancellor Zixtal laughing his clicking laugh, thoroughly amused by what his final act had set in motion, though he probably hadn't anticipated the interpretive dance part. Then again, maybe he had. Aliens are funny that way. Almost as funny as humans. Almost.